Hello and welcome to Musings of an Earthbound Alien. I'm your host, Bill D'Souza. Now, today I was supposed to be funny, but I'm not feeling all that funny right now. I'm going to give you my take on 2020 first. The next episode, I'll be funny for you. But this one, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride this year for a lot of people. And anyway, we'll get right into it. Here's my take on the year in review, 2020, for what it's worth. Be right back. And welcome to Musings of an Earthbound Alien. It's been one hell of a year, I know. I'll start off by saying, wow, it's the end of 2020 and the end of the world as we know it, because 2021 hasn't begun, but it's looking like it's going to start off with a bang. I'm thinking alien invasion at this point in time. What the hell? I mean, 2021 could be just 2012. You know, the Mayan prediction of the end of the world in 2012, a couple of movies being made about it. Who knows? Anyway, let's take a look at 2020 and see what happened in 2020. Now, keep in mind, this is just my take on 2020. For some people, it's been not that bad. For others, probably a lot of people, it's been really crappy. But anyways, in January 2020, let's see, we got massive bushfires that killed tens of millions of animals. The estimate's actually over 1 billion animals died in Australia during those bushfires. I think it was 75 people, give or take. It was pretty bad. The world began to hear more about this COVID-19 thing, happening in Wuhan, China. News began to leak out about that. The first deaths began to be associated with the virus, started to also be announced. But no panic, it's just something that happens in another far off place, not here. The first notion of Britain leaving the EU started in January 2012. 12 months later, it's still in the process of leaving the EU, and who knows what's going on with that. Other than Boris Johnson's hair really is looking worse than it did back then. Murder hornets. January 2020, we started to hear more about murder hornets. And although they're native to Asia, they're not so native to North America. And it's devastating for those areas that it's finding, that's moving. They're devastating the bee population. And we depend on a lot on bees for pollination, both normal food crops and just general fauna. It's a concern. January, what else? The world basically starts the meltdown in January. We skip to March, where we see the World Health Organization declare COVID-19 a pandemic.
WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Finally, some would say. The first lockdowns begin, first in Italy, and then other countries follow in the EU, in Canada. Social distancing, or the term social distancing, becomes part of the general lexicon. Toilet paper, loo rolls, all of a sudden got a higher value than gold around the world, including riots, and I wish I was kidding about that. I think sociologists and psychologists are still trying to make heads or tails as to why toilet paper begins to be that much of an issue. Harry and Meghan, they begin to take a break from the royal family. March, well, people were still okay in March. Then April, COVID-19 cases around the world surpassed 1 million people. New York recorded its highest daily number of COVID-19 cases than any other individual country. Then in North America, COVID is all of a sudden a worry. At least it is in every other part of North America, except the White House.
The virus that we're talking about having to do, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat, as the heat comes in. Typically, that will go away in April. I've spoken to President Xi. They're getting it more and more under control. So I think that's a problem that's going to go away. But when you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, that's a pretty good job we've done. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. You have to be calm. It'll go away. It will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. We need a little separation until such time as this goes away. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. It will go away. You know it is going away. And it will go away, and we're going to have a great victory. It's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, it hopefully will be soon after that.
But hasn't your thinking on this evolved?
It is going away. I didn't say
Warmed up in
Dave,
April.
I said it's going away, and it is going away.
You were saying things like, I think it's a problem that's going to go away within a
Which I'm
couple of
right
days.
about. It will go away. But I think what happens is it's going to go away. This is going to go away. It's going to go. It's going to leave. It's going to be gone. It's going to be eradicated. It might take longer. It might be in smaller sections.
And the Republican Party and the right wing, for some strange reason, just didn't see it as an issue. It'll go away, they said. Right, jackasses. Anyway, I digress. In May, American George Floyd was arrested, and during the arrest was killed by police due to their action. George Floyd was a black person. That was an issue in previous years. This year really hit the mark, because I think at that point in time more people started to notice. And this started the ongoing protest in the US and the awakening of a lot of minority groups around the world this time, basically demanding an end to the brutality. And it began a resurgence, if you will, of the Black Lives Matter movement. And really you can understand the frustration. In June, COVID cases continue to climb around the world. Now we have over 9 million confirmed cases in June. Over 489,000 deaths were confirmed, attributed directly to COVID-19. July, we saw some environmental issues where a Japanese registered oil tanker ran aground on a coral reef in Mauritius Islands, spilling over 1,000 tons of oil on the protected coastline there. While in and on itself, in the grand scheme of things, may not sound like a big deal for some people, it was a huge deal, because you have to remember, we're already fucking up the environment. I don't care what anybody thinks about the environment. I care, and so do billions of other people on the planet. And unfortunately, this just, it contributes to the chaos that we are adding to the oceans. The other interesting thing that started to be observed in July is that normally wild animals don't associate themselves much with urban areas, but in July we start to see wild animals roam near deserted streets of many of the global cities that are in lockdown. I mean, everything from lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and I wish I was kidding, to goats and cows and packs of wild dogs and cats literally all over the place, because there's nobody there. And it was a bizarre phenomenon. Another strange phenomenon being noticed with the global lockdown is air quality indexes begin to improve in many parts of the world. India, China, and Beijing, it hadn't been clearer in decades. India, again, with no one on the streets, with the vast majority of people not being on the streets, air quality indexes improved in those parts of the world. Even in North America, Toronto, Vancouver, Ottawa, we all, in my part of the country anyways, we saw improvements in the air quality index. In August, we saw, after a fire in the port area of Beirut in Lebanon spreads to an overly large storage of ammonia nitrate, that really, it was a what the fuck were you thinking moment. Unfortunately, that led to a massive, devastating explosion that killed 190 people at last count, and the injuries ran into the thousands. It devastated a massive swath of Beirut. And they're already in economic turmoil. Now this just added to the devastation of the peoples there. More black men in the US die at the hands of police, and I'm not against the police, but what the fuck is your training regimen in these departments? I mean, come on. Clearly there is an issue with training, and I'm not saying that people in general don't resist when they are being cornered or caught by the police. It's not like the old days where a constable puts their hand on the shoulder and the accused said, "Oh, it's a fair clop, and because you caught me red-handed, whatever." Now everybody's innocent. Well, I don't believe that either. I'm not naive enough to think that every single person out there is fucking innocent, but there is a serious problem when that many people die because of a lack of training and understanding, and quite frankly, on the parts of some, racism. I mean, come on. Anyway, let's move on. Still in August, California wildfires spread out of control, fanned by drought, high winds, and like the fires in both, and I'm talking wildfires, massive wildfires in the Arctic, in Canada, in Australia, all of them exasperated by climate control. Not all of them caused specifically by climate control. That doesn't cause the fire. Other things cause the fire, natural and human-made, like the fucking morons that decided to hold a gender reveal and just started one of the more massive wildfires in California. That was dumbass. But it's human nature to be stupid, let's face it. In October, yes, October, we're getting down to the wire now. People are getting tired of COVID, and just by then we start to hit phase 2, or the second phase of the COVID pandemic. That's where we have confirmed cases around the world exceeding 43 million people, and that same date, I think it was the 27th, if I remember correctly, of October. That's when 1.1 million people, the total number of dead was over 1.1 million people. If you don't think it's important, try being one of those people. If you don't think COVID is a pandemic, try talking to the families of these people. And by the way, I've heard some doctors in the US talk about the stupidity of some of their more right-wing patients that still didn't believe they were infected with COVID. To these patients that died, I'm sorry, it's going to sound really cruel, but I have zero empathy or sympathy for these people, because what the fuck were you thinking? Stop pretending it doesn't exist. For fuck's sakes. It drives me nuts. Yet you support, you support the, first responders. No, you fucking don't, you moronic idiots. You don't support anybody if you don't think it's real, and you contribute to the super spreading events and contribute to the spreading of a fucking pandemic. Moronic assholes. Anyway, back down to the rest of October, we saw the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Trump. And this is where Biden tells Trump to shut up.
I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that question?
The question is,
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who
I'm
is
sure
on
in
your
his
list?
head he was basically saying, shut the fuck up, you idiot. Something basically the vast global population really has wanted to say directly to the nut, and the nuttery that exists down in Washington these days. Not the only country that this kind of stupidity is happening, by the way, but what the hell. Let's pick on him. In November, Joe Biden won. Yes, Trumpians, Joe Biden won the election. As fucked up as a system of electoral stupidity that the U.S. has, almost as bad as every other tin-potted, jacked-up dictatorship and moronic idiocy that exists on politically on the planet today. Americans, I'm sorry, your entire system of elections is a joke. And, I'm sorry you're offended, but take a serious look at what you do, how you elect someone. Your entire election cycle is 4 years long to elect someone for 4 years. That's asinine. That's not democracy, that's idiocy. Anyway, something very good that also happened in November is Kamala Harris, and please forgive me if I've mispronounced your name, was the first female vice president elected and the first non-white to hold that position. And you know what? Good on you for trying to break some barriers, because it's getting ridiculous where a limited number of rich-ass white dudes are controlling everything from companies, corporations, to countries. In Australia, a damning report, and this is very disappointing to me as a veteran, but the Canadian veteran, mind you, but vets around the world, we depend on one another for a lot of things. And when I saw this report, it literally brought tears to my eyes, where the War Crimes Committee, the Special Forces in Australia, were basically found to have murdered 39 civilians in cold blood. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, hopefully those people are brought to justice, but it's a massive black eye. It's a gouging out of the eyes for veterans around the world, for forces personnel around the world, and especially for the diggers in the Australian military. And I feel bad for those diggers, and you'll know what a digger is if you knew the military in Australia, how they must have felt being associated with these individuals. Very tiny number of individuals, but they brought shame. In December, finally some hope for COVID and for the pandemic. Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna both announce effective vaccines for the COVID pandemic, for the COVID virus, and the first inoculations were administered first in the U.S. and Canada, and it's been moved around the world. But we also have 72 million cases, 72.8 million cases at last count. That was last week. Over 1.6 million people dead from COVID-19. Countries with ineffective leadership record the highest cases and deaths, and the U.S., in the U.S. alone, there's 16 million confirmed cases and over 300,000 deaths. That's pretty ineffective leadership. It's pretty pathetic and a damning condemnation on your leaders. Oh, and a bright note, the global toilet paper shortage begins to ease. Yippee. Now, I was planning on being funny in this episode. I think I'll wait till next week and I'll give you my personal sense of humor. It's really difficult right now for me to laugh. It's been a great year personally for me. Knee surgery, some health improvements, but still some I'm working on. But it hasn't been as bad as some people have experienced. Massive unemployment because of the pandemic. You can't blame cities for locking down, but it does hurt. We lost a lot of good people. We lost a lot of famous people. I'm not even going to go through the list. I've got 6 pages of supposedly famous people that we've lost, died directly from the pandemic, the infection, COVID, and have nothing to do with COVID. Chuck Yeager, Charlie Pride. If you're a basketball fan, we lost Kobe Bryant and his daughter, Sean Connery, Alex Trebek, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, John Lewis. There's a lot. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I think more importantly, those people that don't make the famous list in the media, you know what? There are millions of others that died directly for the pandemic. And that sucks. And I don't feel very funny right now. For those people, it's been a shit year. And if I had superpowers, I wish I could take that all away. But it's tough. Hopefully 2021 will be better, but I'm not counting on it. It'll be months before the vaccine does anything. Even if another 5 companies come out with a vaccine, it'll be months before that actually does anything. First of all, you've got to get the vaccine. Fuck the idea of herd immunity. That's bullshit. You got to get that inoculation. You got to get that vaccine. But that aside, you still have to have minimum two of them to work. We have no idea how long the immunity response from those vaccines will last because, well, quite frankly, there hasn't been enough time to look at that. We're hoping months, if not years, but I suspect by the end of 2021 we may see another small increase in infections, even if everybody gets it, because we don't know how long it'll last, but it'll last longer if the more people that get it. Minimum, according to health experts, doctors, epidemiologists, the time frame that we're looking at is about 7 to 8 months to get everyone vaccinated to the point where we get that 70%. But I'm not holding my breath personally. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. It's been a hell of a year. Those of us that are still around, we made it this far, and hopefully we'll go into 2021 a little bit brighter. Personally, I'm not holding my breath, but what the hell? Stranger things have happened. I still think an alien invasion come 2021. We're royally fucked then. Anyway, you guys stay safe out there.